Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Louise. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, we have our very special guest. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about some very, very, very important issues. It concerns women, but after that, well, you know what? Let me get directly into the show. So what may be you know what I better do? Let me bring it up, because you know what? I don't have that kind of memory that I had back in the past when it was photographic. So what's the title of the show today? Democratic Party and Media Disregard for Women Candidates. That's the main subject. And then, of course, Medicare for All Daily Report. I am sticking with this Medicare for All, folks. Bi-weekly guest Tamara Shealey will discuss both the Democratic Party and media disregard for women candidates. The second segment will continue our daily addressing of Medicare for All to ensure the hoodwinking stops. Let me tell you something, okay? There's hundreds of millions of dollars right now that's being dedicated to an organization. I can't remember the name right now, but it's the Partnership of Healthcare something. They are intent in making you less than smart. That is their intent. If you doubt that's a possibility, Common Dreams have an article titled today, U.S. Public Among the Most Likely in the World to Deny Climate Crisis. How is that possible? That is possible because we had an organized disinformation campaign and it worked. So in effect, it made a large percentage of Americans not very smart. In other words, stupid. The same thing is occurring right now with Medicare for All. They must intently make you stupid. So that will be our second segment. Anyhow, disregard for women. I follow the news intently. The candidate bar none that is providing real policy proposals is a woman, Elizabeth Warren. The candidate that displays the most effective way to combat unsubstantiated answers or statements is a woman, Kamala Harris. The candidate most attuned to keeping us out of war is a woman, Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know, say it however. The two least substantive men based on the rhetoric thus far running, even though I like them very much, are both Beto O'Rourke and Pete Buttigieg. The person that has proven, the person that has proven to be a multi-time loser in the Democratic primaries is an old man, Joe Biden. Every single one of those men tend to get better news coverage than the women. The question is why? Former Georgia State Senatorial candidate and Tamara for Georgia host Tamara Shealey will discuss this. And of course, after the segment, I'm sticking with Medicare for All. We cannot allow the misinformation to metastasize like it did with the Thelma and Louise, advertisements. You remember those days? And also, do you remember the days of death panels? We can't allow that anymore, my dear brothers and sisters. We can't allow that. Anyhow, without further ado, we have with us La Senora Tamara Shealey. Tamara, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hi, Egberto. How are you?
Hey, we are doing fine. But you know, every single day I find out we have that much more work to do, Tamara, that much more work to do. You know, you're a woman, you're a candidate. You know the tribulations that female candidates have. So first of all, let's personalize this a bit with how what you see your relationship has been with, let's say, the Democratic Party as a woman? First of all, as a woman, no adjectives to the woman, just as a woman.
Okay, I want to first, Egberto, tell you how nice you look in those glasses. That's a new look for you. I noticed that the other day.
I had a vote. I had a vote on this stuff as far as glasses or no glasses. So you like the glasses?
I love the glasses. You look really.
Wow.
You're smart, but now you look even smarter.
Oh my God, she gave me a compliment. My God. So anyhow, tell me about you being a woman running for senator running for the senatorial as a senatorial candidate as a woman.
As a woman, honestly, Egberto, I really believe that it is our time as women to rise and to take the lead. And as a candidate, as a female candidate, when I ran 3 times, 2014, 2016, 2018, honestly, I was very well received. I think, women are excited to see other women. Like, if she can do this, I can do this too. So there was a lot of momentum when women candidates, well, for me, I felt a lot of momentum with other women. And then men were like, okay, let's see what she has to bring to the table. So as a woman, I was very well received, Egberto, inside the Democratic Party.
So you didn't have the problem that I am describing, let's say, with the presidential candidates in your particular realm?
What do you mean, the presidential candidates in my realm?
In other words, you were running for senator. You felt well received.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see? When I started the program, I came out and I said that I thought Kamala Harris, I thought Gabbard and Tulsi Gabbard and the others weren't getting the respect that was due them given the positions. What are your thoughts on that?
So you know what I think, we're all, this is the age of social media, and we're always looking for the next high, like who's next, who's up next, and who's on the forefront now. And I think every candidate that came out, woman or man, that has come to the forefront, they all had their moment of glory, like, oh, here is Biden, here is Harris. It's like every candidate has had they're having their moment. Their shine, as we say in the urban community. They got their shine on right now. But then every time another candidate comes out, that person gets their shine. So I don't think that it's specific to women. I think Biden he's the last one to announce thus far, and he's getting his shine. And I think he's a flawed candidate. I think the Democratic Party, he running at this stage of where we are politically is he's establishment, and I think that he, particularly in the Black community, won't be well received. He will not, unless he has a very strong agenda specific to Black and brown people, and he is speaking some truth to power in a way that he hasn't done before. There won't be any momentum behind him.
Right now, he's leading Kamala Harris and Tulsi and all of them in the Black community. Do you think then that is going to fade based when some more of the Biden issues come out, or you think Black people in general are running scared? What's your thoughts on that?
No, I just think that polls are what they are, polls, and I think they haven't asked enough people. They don't ask the right people. They ask who they ask. So I don't necessarily follow the polls and who they say is leading in the polls. I think Cory Booker's out there. I think they're all kind of gonna, make their way. But it just, I don't think Biden is gonna be at the top. I really do not believe it.
Yeah, well, I kind of did a little piece on Biden, and I kind of got hit pretty hard at Daily Kos when I did a number. I mean, and the thing about it is, I didn't even criticize him personally. It was just sort of a mathematical issue. His time is pretty much past. It's time for the younger folks to take over. It's time for both women and the younger folks to take over. And there's a new organization that got formed by Alicia Garza, who is the founder of Black Lives Matter, as well as the woman who's the governor of Texas's daughter. What's her name? Aunt Richards. Richards. They formed an organization called something to the effect of supermajority or something like that they call. And the idea is to empower all women to represent the numbers by which they vote. Right now, according to them, I heard it this morning on NPR. The voting pool is 54% women. Yet. 54% women. So, but yet somehow, the majority of the people that go into Congress or men. Ironically speaking, though, the newer ones, when we talk about the AOCs, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Talib, or Ayanna Presley and all these guys, that generation seem to be getting their point across as far as women voters are concerned. So what are your thoughts on that?
They excite me, like to see those ladies in Congress, and they're not towing that party line, and they're they made a promise to their constituents and they're sticking to it. So they totally excite me. And going into this 2020 election, I believe that we're going to have more women that are going to be elected, and more women that are not going to just go along with what the establishment says. They're really going to stand tall, and they're going to fight back.
Now, in your state, what about what's her name?
Stacey
Abrams. Yeah.
Run, Stacey, run. I keep putting it out there. Run, Stacey, run. I know it's late in the game and everybody's kind of counting her out. And I think if she doesn't run, somebody may possibly pull her in as a vice president candidate. But honestly, I think that she has all the potential to actually run and make a statement.
I think she would make a good candidate. I personally think it's too late. I think people are kind of... I think 22 people, I don't remember how many, 20-something people out there now. I don't know if she can carve out her little space right now.
But you predicted, Egberto, that she was going to run for Senate, and you were wrong.
So I was wrong, and you were right. So
I knew she was not.
You know I don't have a problem coming on air and saying I'm wrong. I mean, that's not a problem with me. So, I mean, you were right on that one. I felt that I felt that given how close she came as governor, even though she decided not to do it, I think she could have done it and won it, because I think that her posse would have been out there for her. Not only just the people that did the governorship, but there's a lot of eyes out there now to make sure that what this guy did doesn't. I shouldn't say it doesn't happen again, but it's harder to pull out, because we all know that she was robbed of in that election, more than likely because of all the shenanigans of people not being able to vote, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're from Georgia, so you know that better than I do.
Oh yeah, we watched those polls where you have these people, three polling places, what do you call them? The election, I can't find my words today.
Yeah. Oh,
3 voting booths. Yeah, the ballot box.
Yeah.
It's like these small quantities of boxes in these places where you got this high population of people, and then up in certain these outside suburban areas where you didn't need as many. You had a whole bunch of them. So we watched all of that.
Yeah. It's a new form of voter suppression, and you saw what happened. And by the way, we talking about voter suppression, we're kind of going off the topic a bit here, but I think folks need to understand that. I mean, because this is happening more and more every day. I want folks to know that the people, Republicans and Democrats alike in Florida, they voted to say if you paid your time to society in jail, in prison, when you get out, you get the right to vote again. They found a way to get around the people. And what they're saying now is they're using some good old Jim Crow tactics. The only difference is this Jim Crow tactic doesn't only affect black people this time, it affects everybody. What they're saying now is if you get out of jail until you pay your fine, or sometimes you get convicted and you have a $3,000 fine or a $10,000 fine, and people have to pay that off over time when they get out of jail, and they don't have a job anyway, so how are they going to pay it off? Well, it means that they're still restricted to vote because they haven't paid their fine off. So they found a way around the people in Florida to still make the amount of people that would have made that state solidly blue. They found a way around it.
Anything to suppress that vote, anything to get the numbers in their favor. So I'm never surprised. It's just sad that in 2019 that we are still having a conversation that we've had for 50, 60 plus years or more.
Yeah, but I hate to say that it has a lot to do with even the party, right? Because the truth of the matter is, when the party is supposed to go strong on issues, the first thing we do is we crater, right? We tag to the center, right? I had.
But what is that, Egberto? What is that? Why would they even do that?
Because the truth, as I really believe, I believe that the Democratic, and for my Democratic brothers and sisters, listen here, understand what I'm saying. This is not a knock on the people. This is a knock on the establishment. I think there's not much difference between the Democratic establishment and the Republican establishment. I think they serve the same master, and the master is the corporatocracy, the plutocracy, the wealthy. And the wealthy, whether they're Republican or Democrat, share a large interest in common. The only difference between the wealthy on the Republican side and the wealthy on the Democratic side are certain social issues. But I think specifically they're the same. That's my thoughts.
Thank you for saying that out loud, Egberto, because I know that to be true. Like I totally believe the exact same thing.
Well,
I don't believe it.
Foxhole.
Yeah.
And you know some of those donors, how they operate. You were there.
Yeah, they're all one and the same.
You know, so those are the things that we have to look at. Well, now that you've shut down the my argument where I was trying to make the issue about that I see, maybe I'm a bit more sensitive to it, or maybe you have a bigger armor than I do. That I
think you're a little sensitive to it, Egberto.
Well, maybe that's it, you know, or maybe you have a bigger armor on because you're, you know, I said something on one of my shows yesterday, I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago, and I said when you're used to being oppressed by, no matter what kind of oppression, whether it's gender oppression, race oppression, sexuality oppression, you develop an armor for that particular type of oppression. And for those that are fighting with you, somehow they can get more sensitive than you are because, again, you're so used to it. Now it comes to you as second nature. So I wonder, I don't want to give you the full Monty there. I don't want to completely give you the full thing yet. I still think that there's a difference between how the genders are treated by the news media in this presidential election. And
you know what? I will give you that because you're watching the media from a different perspective. So I will give you that. Maybe they're not giving the women their time, you know, with these, you know, in these news stories. Maybe they're not, but I just think that, you know, when women candidates are out there running, we women, we know it. And we're supportive. I'm excited about Elizabeth Warren when she started talking about. Now I've been a Bernie. I was, you know, for Bernie, but you know, when Elizabeth Warren has been talking about this student loan debt forgiveness, it's like I perked up. Like, whoa! Do you know how that would turn? Like, do you know how many people that would help? Like, help these young people coming into, you know, their new start in life. They won't have the burden of that. And then those of us who've been out here carrying this load, that would lighten it tremendously. So when she started talking about that, it was like, that is what a way to help everybody.
It is true, but you know, I want to have a little soliloquy here on that student debt issue, and I'm gonna tell you how it goes. A lot of people, when they look at things like forgiving student debt, they think two things. One is, well, we are just giving away money to irresponsible people. That's the first thing that they say, which is wrong. The second thing that they say is free money. Why are we forcing all those people that don't go to college or whatever to pay in the people who went to college, you know, paying taxes that people who go to college are going to get? And my answer to that is a particular reason, first of all, for tuition-free college, right? So that everybody has equal access to college. The thing about it is the bankers are the ones who benefited from the student loan. But what I like to talk to people about, Tamara, is very important. We adopted a society where corporations need educated people. At the same time, corporations want to pay as little taxes as possible. So if we look at states like Texas that continue to reduce the amount of taxes that corporations pay, it meant that our universities got less and less money and students were responsible for more and more. So what happens now is, since the corporations need educated engineers, educated lawyers, educated legal experts like you are going to school for right now, and educated all these things, we in effect, given that the corporations need these services and the corporation isn't paying to develop these services because they don't want to pay taxes, we are then subsidizing corporations. I am waiting for Democratic candidates to make that argument as opposed to being on the defensive. In other words, I want to make the argument that corporations must pay more taxes to pay off student loans because they stole the intellect of the students that they paid for a service the corporations needed.
Egberto, you're on it, doggone it. That hits that nail right on the head.
My point is that our Democrats who are pushing a lot of these policies are not arguing they're not arguing on the assertive side. They're not arguing on the this is how it's supposed to be. They're generally arguing from a defensive point of view. In other words, this is why we want to be nice to those people who have student loans. I don't want them to be nice to people who have student loans. I want the damn corporations to do their damn part.
That's right. That's right. They want an educated workforce? Pay for it.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think, and you know, by the way, are you running again?
I don't know.
I'm putting you on the spot.
I know.
2022.
That just came out of nowhere.
The reason I asked that, right, is you've been making a whole lot of comments about what's going on, even in your state politics. And what I think, there's somebody that I was listening to, I can't recall who it is right now, and what that person said is that we need to start not just telling people to go vote. We need to be out there giving people somebody to vote for. In other words, somebody that's going to have their interests. So, I mean, if we have 10 different politicians vying for a position, but those 10 politicians aren't 10 politicians that have your interests at hand, what's the point in voting? And I think that is one of the major issues why a whole lot of folks aren't voting. Because as far as they're concerned, a lot of these politicians are not there offering them some sort of a difference. Your thoughts?
And you're right. You're absolutely correct, Egberto. If you don't have a message for certain communities, if you're not, addressing their issues specifically and not just with talking points, and, our politicians, they get so, they talk in vagueness. They'll talk, we want to, expand healthcare. But what does that actually mean? Or we're going to address, the education. But what does that really mean? Like, politicians, if they want to win, you better be very, very specific about what you intend on doing when you get in office. And that's holding them accountable. And that's one thing I like about Elizabeth Warren. Again, she's about holding those big corporations accountable.
She has a bill. I don't know if you read this yet, because I know you've been studying for your law exam and all that good stuff in the last few weeks. But she has a bill. It's a bill that came out I think it's called Responsible Capitalism. Responsible capitalism is something else. It's not really capitalism, but she has to use the word because, socialism scares people. And in fact, by the way, you're not going to hear me using that word much anymore, because I think it's time for us to get smart on the issue. We need to outsmart the other side. So I think for all my listeners, I think I'm deciding to temper that word until we do some more education, if you will. So I think I'm going to...
Because they're using it as a weapon.
Right. And it's not that I'm putting the word away, it's I'm putting the policies ahead of any word. Because after we put the policies out, you can call it whatever the hell you want to call it. You see what I'm saying? But I'm just not. I've gotten some advice. I actually got some advice from a 20-year-old kid that I listen to everybody.
Good for you.
And this 20-year-old kid was saying a few things. He's a conservative Democrat. And I reread some of the comments that he left for me. And I said, you know what? This young man is beyond his years. At some of the things that he's actually saying, it makes sense. The values haven't changed. In other words, we know what policies we have to have. But let's market it right. Let's market the policies right. But anyhow, Tamara, we're coming down at minute 25. Before I go, do you have any interesting things that you want to add to the discourse before you tell us a little bit about your couple of shows?
Run, Stacy, run.
Oh my God.
That's what I even created a little hashtag. Run, Stacy, run.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. I still want her to reconsider running for the Senate. Why don't you talk to her for me?
I think she should run for president. That's where I'd like to see her at the very top. So that's my tidbit for today. But you can always find me, Egberto, at Tamara Shealey. Yes, we do 2 broadcasts, one on Fridays at 11 a.m., where Egberto is our political guest. He comes and gives us a national perspective.
For just a little bit.
Just a little bit, but it's always
before she throws me off.
No, because Robbie and David have to have their spats. They go at it a lot. They
have to do it, man. Yeah, the show is fun. I enjoy the show. In fact, I like to cut out my outtakes because you guys make me laugh, man.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. It's never a dull moment in Georgia. You know, I just posted just last night that we're at, hate is at an all-time high here in Georgia. It was always high for those of us that are native to these Georgia lands. It's always been here, but social media has given it a platform, and we're going to blast it every time we see it and hear it right here in Georgia, because we are about bridging that divide and bringing all people together right here in the state of Georgia. And I do another broadcast on Tuesdays, 8 p.m., where I do exclusive interviews, and we go get down to the nitty gritty. So there I am, Egberto, every Friday and every Tuesday.
Thank you so kindly, Tamara, for coming on to the show. You know, this is your spot every other Wednesday.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely so. And thank you for coming in. Folks, go check out her shows. Be a part of it. Let me tell you, and let me hold you here a bit longer and explain something to people right now. Let me tell you what I would love all of us to do. Those of you who have the wherewithal to get on camera like Tamara does right now, and others that are doing. I don't want to mention any names yet because I'm working with another young woman in Panama that I want to sort of bring into this kind of a movement. We all have to do our part, whether nationally, locally, statewide. The media is not going to do it for us anymore. Mm-hmm. The information that Tamara is going to put out there, the information that Politics Done Right is going to put out there, we're going to have to do it ourselves. We have to get there, and some of us have to get behind these cameras and put up these videos, both on those of us that are on Facebook, YouTube, those of us who have a show on air or whatever. We have to be doing this, Tamara, and the reason we have to be, and even when you are busy in school doing your law stuff, that time has to be cut out there to do this. And why? Because the mainstream media is no longer going to be a reliable friend. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they are doing the best they can, but they have strings attached. We don't. Our only strings attached is to you. Tamara Shealey, former Georgia candidate and activist. And I want to address something to Ledo. Ledo, yes, she lost a couple of times, but let me tell you about her losses. She brought that county, that district in for the subsequent winner. That's a fact. Tamara Shealey, thank you so kindly for having been here with us. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Egberto.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, folks, we are continuing with this program. Like I said before, we are going to talk again about Medicare for all. And the reason I want to talk about Medicare for all is because we have too many. And let me change the background for a little bit. I kind of like my city. That's Panama City. Panamá, Centroamérica, la ciudad de donde vengo. Pero voy a decir algo. Let me tell you something. For now, let's go to Medicare for all. And I want everybody to be made aware that there are institutions right now that are working day and night, psychologically and otherwise, to find a way to get into your head, to scare you from telling you reasons why we must have a Medicare for all system, reasons why we must have a change, a revamp of our healthcare system that more mimics the rest of the world. There is absolutely no excuse for what we have. What we have is a system that pilfers. There are many who say all we have to do is remove further government from healthcare. We have some of the folks who follow this show, good people, but they are of the belief that if the free markets simply take over healthcare entirely, and somehow we allow competition in, somehow if people knew what every procedure cost, if somehow people understood how things were, that somehow this system would magically perform much better. I have yet to find somebody who numerically can tell me how that works. I am too dumb to understand how a free market, something that every industrialized country at some point in time has tried to mimic, has worked. It has not worked at all. But I want to have a little bit of fun before I get into the show. And the fun that I want to have is with a friend of mine. Yesterday at KPFT, I went over there and, because I did my show and I had my good friend Terry come out there and he answered the phones for me. And after he answered the phone, I left after my show and started to go home. It was raining like crazy, cats and dogs and alligators and whatever, raining like hell. And my wife told me I better turn back around because all the streets were flooded in Kingwood. So I turned around and went back to the studio, and Mercer was still there. And we were talking politics and what's going on in the world. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, wars, what happened in Panama, how 10,000 Panamanians got killed, yet the UN says it's 4,000. We were talking all these different political issues. And then, by gosh, we know what the problem is, right? We know what the real problem is that covers healthcare and everything. And I didn't know till then that my buddy was a political rapper. And he did a little number, and after he did that little number, I said, you know what, I got to get that on tape because I want to play this for my audience. I want you guys to listen to this guy. And then on the other side, I want you guys to tell me what you think. And by the way, folks, this is a call-in show to 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Check out my friend.
We got a problem in this country. It's the oligarchy consolidation of the politics of the nation. Here's to the people on whose necks they stand with soda pop culture, population, manipulation, direct elections of the corporations to the highest offices of the nations. Coca-Cola, Mexico, Alcoa, U.S. Texaco, Bechtel, Boeing, Chevron, flowing, drilling offshore banks a hole, and surplus profits keep a rolling in the coffers of the barons. Rob the people, never share and never care, and while you're staring down the barrel of the power, it's their hour, it's their gun. They got the people on the run chasing paychecks for survival. To join their club, you learn to kill. To share the wealth with fewer still. And wipe your mouth with bloody sleeves while poor folks fall like leaves from trees with no broadcast of their grieving please. Oligarchy consolidation of the politics of the nation. Here's to the people on whose necks they stand. We got a problem in this country.
Now tell me what you think about that. When I heard him talking about that, I'm like, dang, I got to get that on video because you know what? In that little poem where he calls out all those words, he really put the entire what ails us, the entirety of what ails us in in a 50-second rapping piece of poetry. So that just made my day. Now, I also want to play you something because I got some, I don't believe, I got some kudos from Thom Hartmann. And by the way, Thom Hartmann is going to be, I have Thom Hartmann scheduled to be on the show on June 3rd, I believe. So June 3rd, I think I'm going to be dedicating the entire hour with Thom Hartmann. He has a new book that's coming out. I don't think it's released yet. So I think I think the book is still under quarantine. So I probably shouldn't show his new book yet. So anyhow, we have, he's going to be on with us on June 3rd. But I wrote an article and I spoke about it on KPFT 90.1 FM at Daily Coast, and it wasn't very well received by rank and file Democrats as usual because I spoke against the mythical center and so forth. So, so they gave me hell, to put it as nice as I can. They gave me hell. That's okay. I love it because, if I get a lot of help because I don't take standard positions, and I do not mind taking it. But I think it's important that some of us go out and do this. So what I want to do is I want to play for you where my buddy gave me some, I was kind of excited because, you have somebody like Tom Hartman giving you kudos. You can't help but say like, oh, wow, thank you so kindly. So here it is.
Egberto Willies, writing over at Daily Kos, Democrats must nominate a populist if they're to win the White House and Congress. This is the question. Can a populist beat Donald Trump? The example that Egberto Willies points out is the 7th District congressional race in Texas, where in 2018 there was a progressive in the Democratic campaign. It is more likely an increasingly progressive vote provided the winning margin in these elections. This reality was apparent in the Texas Congressional District 7, where the DCCC interjected themselves in our local election with a right-wing style attack on Laura Mosier, who ultimately lost to Lizzie Pinnell Fletcher. All the progressive groups coalesced around Fletcher, block walking, knocking on doors, phone banking, because they kept their eyes on the ball. So, apparently Mosier was a little more progressive, but the DCCC took her out. When American pollsters give Americans choices of policies, they reveal themselves as progressives. But the powers that be hoodwink them into believing the things that they want are unattainable. Worse, their leaders tell them that their wants would cost jobs or hurt the economy. In other words, fear is responsible for most Americans sticking to the mythical center. The mainstream is, quote, center-left. But what does center mean? I mean, increasingly, it's looking to me like center means just fine to go along with big corporations and take money from billionaires. And I don't think most Americans are there. I don't understand. I hear these people, particularly on MSNBC and CNN, I hear these people talking about, well, we need to go to the center. What the hell are they talking about? I mean, literally, what do they mean? What specific policy is the center? Well, okay, here's an example. Medicare for all is the far left. Medicare X is the center. What does Medicare X do? Or this other, there's two different versions of Medicare as a public option, basically. And both of them would keep in place the 20% hole in Medicare that brings in private health insurance companies and makes a hell of a lot of profit for those private health insurance companies. All of them keep in place Medicare Advantage, which is privatization of Medicare, which is now 1/3 privatized. 1/3 of Americans who are on Medicare are taking Medicare Advantage, which is not actually Medicare. It's a private corporate scheme that is heavily subsidized with our tax dollars and our Medicare dollars. But I'm personally of the opinion that it's going to take a real progressive populist to beat a conservative. Egberto.
There you go. And that's what I'm talking about. That it was refreshing to hear the number one progressive talk show in the country agree that the mythical center is not going to do it for us. The mythical center is not going to do it for us. And there's a very important point that he made, and I hope folks were listening to it when he used the in effect what this Medicare X is all about. And I covered that in a couple of blogs ago, that the argument between Bennett and, let's say, Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren is that they want Medicare for all the centrists. Let's say folks like Klobuchar, folks like Bennett, they want Medicare X, which is nothing more than saying to put it bluntly, right? Medicare X is like Obamacare on steroids, which if Obamacare goes on steroids, it means the insurance companies get even richer. That's what it's all about, right? Because you're not changing anything officially within the system other than you're going to continue paying these private insurance companies. And when they talk about public option and all that kind of stuff, if the idea is that most of the sick people migrate to the public option because they have loopholes that prevent the private companies for having to take the sicker people, what that then means is that, of course, that the expense of the public option will continue to rise and rise. Then the private sector is going to make the false argument that look how efficient the private sector is compared to the public option, when the reality is the public option will be filled with sicker people and the private sector with healthy people and less expenses. And so we are going to have to very well educate folks to the shenanigans that are going to be played not only by the right wing, not only by Republicans, but establishment Democrats, the mythical center. We have to be the ones presenting the case because they're not going to do it. When you have Michael Bennet, Senator of Colorado, using the same right-wing rhetoric, do I have that even? Let me see if I still have that queued up, because I mean, this was, to me, right? This was very, very hurtful, because you see a Democrat that you otherwise would normally like to come out and do what they did. And I do have it here. Let me go ahead and play that, because I think it's imperative that you see what they're doing to us under the mantra of Medicare. Check this out. This is what Bennett said. This is a Democrat speaking, okay?
My suggestion on Medicare X that creates a true public option administered by Medicare rather than threatening to take away insurance from 180 million people, 80% of whom like it, all the unions in America that have negotiated for their health care plans. I mean, I think that the American people have waited long enough for universal health care.
Some are talking about Medicare for all. Would you support that approach?
I don't support that approach. If what you're talking about is the legislation that Bernie Sanders has in the Senate, that would take insurance away from 180 million people who get it through their employer, 80% of whom like it. It would take insurance away from every labor union in America that's negotiated a health care plan, and it would cost $30 trillion. I have a bill with Tim Kaine called Medicare X that would create a true public option for the American people. This gives the American people a choice. It doesn't force them into a plan. It gives them an option, and it creates competition for private insurance, starting in rural areas, as I said. I think that's much closer to where the American people are than wanting to have the government take over the entire healthcare system.
Now, think about that. You could have Senator McConnell saying those things. They are not true. They're either lies or misinformation about Medicare for all out of a Democrat. Number one, 180 million Americans would not lose insurance that they don't like. They lose it every year. 180 million folks who work for corporations are given new plans every year. All these people who work for government and corporations get something at the end of every year to renew whatever they have. The other thing that he forgot to tell you is that things like rescission and all these things that protect women from from paying higher prices, all these things are what's within Medicare for all. None of that is specifically within Medicare X. Medicare X is nothing more than a dream, a framework that yet again would be written by insurance companies. And that is what they're doing. Now, a lot of these candidates, right? A lot of these candidates don't expect to win. All right? They didn't join those 20 plus Democrats to win. Those centrists didn't necessarily think they're going to win. They're just putting a center of gravity in there to change the discussion. They didn't want, I'm pretty sure Bennett doesn't particularly want to run or win presidency. I'm pretty sure Klobuchar, these guys, they figure I'll get into the race, I'll get the centrist point of view out of there, I'll make sure the argument doesn't vacate or doesn't go all too far to the left where most Americans really want it to be. I won't get it there. That is the goal of having 22 candidates running. That is the goal of having them run. These are guys that will get funding. And the reason they are getting funding is because the insurance companies, the corporations, all of these guys want the discussion moved. They want to have the news media talking about that mythical center. They want to have all these different organizations giving Americans these options as if they all have plausibility. They don't. The only and entirely only option that is the most efficient of their all from a mathematical standpoint, period, is a single payer system. There is no argument about that. You cannot, in healthcare, profit is an expense. Health insurance that's not a single payer system that is for profit means one and one thing only. You increase your profit by denying service. You increase your profits by denying service. And what's the responsibility of a capitalist corporation? To maintain or to look out, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the corporation. You have a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholder. That's your responsibility. Your responsibility is not to the patient. Your responsibility is not on the other side. And this is a law. You have a fiduciary. In fact, your shareholders can sue you if you decide to get benevolent. Your responsibility is the corporation. That is why when you hear me talk about the system being an evil system, that is exactly what I'm talking about. It is not that the people are bad. It's that the implementation of the system by design has got to be human-less, inhumane, because that is not what matters. What matters is your fiduciary responsibility to make money for those people who own you. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever think there's a good insurance company that means you well. Everything is a facade to get you to give them your money and them otherwise to give the profits to an executive and ultimately to the shareholder. It is important that you don't have a love for the system. You have a love for the outcomes. When you have a love for the outcomes, you vote the best system in. When you have a love for the fallacies that they tell you, the partnership of health to move healthcare forward, I think that's the name of it. The partnership to move health forward. They give you a beautiful name. It's just like when they gave the name, the Blue Skies, when Bush gave the Blue Skies name to the new environmental policy. It really meant I can throw more crap into the air, but I just give it a good name and people just get a warm and fuzzy feeling. Same thing happens with healthcare. Folks, you are going to be hoodwinked. You're going to be they're going to talk about socialism and all these other things. They're going to lie to you. I'm going to ask everybody that's listening to this right now to do one thing. Don't listen to what I'm saying about how the healthcare is anywhere else and it's better. You can do what I did. During the healthcare debate back in the 2010 realm, when they were going crazy and talking about Canada and how bad people have it in Canada and the wait times or whatever, I tell you what I did. I took 50 random numbers in Canada. 50 random numbers. And you can do 5, you can do 10. And simply ask them. Don't ask what you hear on TV. You have to make a decision that is existential to you. Americans, when it comes to healthcare, they have to make a decision that is existential to themselves. It behooves you to find out true information and not based on ideologies of anything that I tell you or anything that the corporate America tells you or anything you hear on TV, and you have the power to do it. Randomly. Form an organization, 10 of you. Each of you get 10 random telephone numbers in England, 10 random telephone numbers in Canada, 10 random telephone numbers in France, 10 random telephone numbers in Australia, 10 random. Do that as an exercise. Do that. And while you're doing that, tape it. Put it on speakerphone. Get somebody to video you as you're talking to these different people. And take a couple of months for all of you guys to do this. And come back with the results. Hey, email me the results. I know what they're going to be. I know what these results are going to be. You need to know what these results are going to be. Are these other countries faring better with their healthcare? Enjoy their healthcare? Can they go bankrupt in their healthcare system? Do they get the services that they need? And then contrast that with your own personal healthcare experience. That's all I'm asking you to do. And the reason I want you to do that is, and the reason I'm saying don't listen to me, my friends, is unlike other folks, I don't want blind allegiance. I want to earn your respect. I want to earn I want to earn a reason for you to come into to this show and say, you know what, today I don't necessarily want to research what Egberto says, but because I've developed some faith in what he says, today I'm going to do it. Because there's two things I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you the true information, and likewise, what I'm going to do is, if for some reason I screw up, or if you are able to show me that I screw up some point, I'm going to come and tell all of us the same thing, because it's a community. And we all learn together. But the one thing we can't fall for is ideological traps and ideological crap. We can't. We can't allow ourselves to do that, which is what we do many times, too many times. So you don't have to listen to what the right wing is telling you. You don't have to listen to what these think tanks are organizing to lie to you. You don't have to listen to that. Do it on your own. And it doesn't take a lot of time. You just go ahead and look up telephone numbers in Canada, look up telephone numbers in France, and do it. Do it. You ask them. Don't ask. Let me go to my beforehand. I forgot. I have to ask you guys to subscribe to Politics Done Right, folks. For those of you that are listening, please, if you have the wherewithal, please go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. That is patreon.com/Politics Done Right, and subscribe to our show. Subscribe to our program. Those who subscribe get to read all the books that I write online. It's yours. Likewise, those of you who subscribe, every so often we're going to have Zoom chats. I haven't had one. I didn't have one last month. I'll have one this month in May. Likewise, we are going to have all kind of, by the way, anybody who wants one of our where's the camera? One of our bumper stickers, give me a call. And the other thing I want to remind you, if you go to store.politicsdoneright.com, store.politicsdoneright.com, you get a whole lot of swag that we have there. All of that contributes to help Politics Done Right continue to do and get the message. It is so important. I need you. I am honest with you. I need your support. In order to stay alive, in order for this to continue, I need your support, and I need several hundred small subscribers, which is what I'm looking for. I'm far away from that, and I'm still bleeding. But my goal is to continue to do this. My goal, I figure, in this last stage of my life is to make a difference politically in this country, to make it a better place. And again, I want to tell you about my other book, of course, Lose Weight and Be Fit. Now, it's a short book. Go ahead and you can get it at Amazon.com. Or as well, if you go ahead and subscribe to patreon.com/Politics Done Right, the book is yours online as well. So please, folks, consider being a part of it. Now, I'm writing the book, and I'm way behind, but I'm writing How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. Go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Please support the program. Help me get to 100 subscribers. It's cheap this week, please. Help me get to 100 subscribers. If you've already subscribed and you're listening to me, thank you so kindly. If you're not subscribed, please do so if you have the wherewithal to do so. If you can't, please at least share and encourage other folks to do this for a good cause, because that is what we're doing here. We're really trying to make, we are going to make a difference, because no matter what, we are going to keep folks educated. Let me get back to Panama. I feel a little bit happy about the skyline of my former country. Hola, mis panameños que están ahí. ¿Cómo están? Anyway, folks, going back to the issues that, you know what? I got about 3 minutes. I can get to folks real quick on this and see what they're saying. Okay, let's see. Vamos a ver. Joseph Sandan here, mate. Let's do this. Hi, Joseph. Hi, Sally Salas. Happy hump day to you too, my friend. Michael Rodnin, my regular and standard, I like to call him our researcher. And then, of course, there is Evans Janet. Welcome aboard. Lawrence Sims, welcome aboard. Let's see. Daniel Ledo, my good conservative. Jacqueline Odell Clue, welcome aboard. Let's see who else is here. Jacqueline Odell Cluth, I think I mentioned you. Mike Cizak, another resident conservative. Thank you for showing up, Mike. Look, my conservatives that come on this stuff, I love you guys too. I hope you guys know that. I mean, you give me hell. You give me hell because a lot of the information that you force me to look to just to say, oh my God, he have it all wrong on this. I wish he would not do. But you know what? You keep me on my toes. So specifically CSAC and Ledo, love you guys. I mean, we can have coffee anytime. Because what I'm trying to show folks is this. I don't hate the Trump voter. I don't hate the conservative. We're in the same boat. You see, I know the reality is they want us to hate each other so that they can put the wool over our eyes and have us work against each other. I ain't going to do that. I'm going to try to get us to work together to accomplish a goal that makes each of us, our lives better, the lives of our families and friends better. So there's nothing you're going to say here, even when some of you do the insults on me and you call me different words, and some of you call up here and give me the kind of words, really don't bother me, It actually empowers me. It actually makes me continue to know, hey, we got to get something done here. So Mike Cisak and Ledo, love you guys too. Okay, let's see. Mike says survey of Democrats for 20. Hey, my good friend, she's going to be on the show sometime soon. Janine Loudon, how you doing, Janine? Welcome aboard, my dear, beautiful friend. Let's see. Let me read some of this stuff. Let's see. Which article? Let's see. Jacqueline, they do it frustrating that women do not receive the credit they deserve. I agree with you. And if you notice on my show, you won't see that. In fact, many times my shows are very women-centric, meaning I think that men get away with a whole lot of stuff. You're right. So, a lot of times my shows tend to be women-centric. Nothing against men or anything like that. I just think there are times that you have to make up the difference. Okay, paying off a fine in order to vote sounds like a poll tax, which is illegal. Rednin, brother, you have it absolutely right. It is a poll tax. It is definitely a poll tax. Jacqueline O'Dell says, I am 57 with a $46,000 school loan. I am raising my 3 grandkids. If the school loans were forgiven, which I have paid on for years, I could get a bigger car and home for all of us, take a vacation. I could feel some relief. And you deserve it. You deserve it. You're taking care of your grandkids. You went to school. You try to do what everybody says we as Americans should be doing. You did the right thing. You did the right thing, Jacqueline. And you know what? What I do, because ultimately in the long run, I don't have hope. Let me tell you what I have. I have resolve. I don't have hope. I have resolve to do with all of us what has to get done. That is my resolve. That is our resolve. Left and right, our resolve is to make things better for us all. My name is Egberto Willies. Thank you so kindly for spending this time with me. You know how I close the show every single time. This is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know what? I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.